Morning. Yes, thanks.
Sorry, we're already started. Hey guys, I just did a quick earlier stream. If you missed it, sorry about that. We just started here. Let's see what's going on. Good morning, Mona. Babe is here. Meg is here. Steve is here. Sweet Lou, Amy. Again, guys, I just did a stream about this case in Alaska that is going to be picking a jury today and tomorrow. And if it's streaming, you know the word, I'm pivoting. So just you'll see the stream if you missed it. Good morning, Ruth Ann, Rebecca, Missy, Mia. Thanks for being here, everybody. Oh, let me open Kick. I don't have that open. I'm so unprepared today. I'm sorry, everyone. Tracy's on Kick. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning, Groot. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Lily Pauly. Good morning, Deja. Good morning, Snoop Catty Cat. Crystal Clear. Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm on the wrong stream. Son of a gun. For everyone who missed the earlier stream, I had to thank everyone who sent money to me and Shannon for our anniversary. We had an amazing time. Drove there, took an Uber back. Maybe I should give lessons to Patrick Mahomes Sr. on how to take a freaking Uber. But we had an amazing time. I loved hanging out with Babe for our 6th anniversary dinner. And then I took her home and I gave her what she really wanted, the opportunity to watch The Mindy Project alone. Good morning, Blair on the Kick Machine. Good morning, Hot Spice Jess. Oh, she's back to hospice, Jess. Good morning. Mia Beto, good morning. What's up, Donnie? Sweet Lou, Charlotte, Carrie 28, Indy Cindy, Mooney, Amy, Chloe and Sally, Crystal Clear, Deja, Paulie 3. Thanks for being here, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Good morning, Lisa, the sober hipster. Good morning, Karen. Good to see you, Karen. My counter moved up, folks. 12,100. Apparently, my counter now only goes by 100. Good morning, Faith in the Unseen. Good morning, Bonnie Bailey. Good morning, Mike on the Kick Machine. Good morning, Pamela. Thanks for being here, everyone. Good morning, Elizabeth. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Are we ready to bring in the jury?
Good morning, Ada. Thanks for being here. Let's bring the jury.
You will bring the jury.
Good morning, Lynn. Good morning,
Will the
Todd.
counsel stipulate, please?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
We continue with the state's case.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. The state recalls Kristen Maydell.
Is this the lady who got spicy last week? Or is this a new?
And you are still under oath, Ms. Maydell. You may be seated.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me.
Sure, it's Kristen, Kristen, Maydell, Madel.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Ms. Maydell, just before we get started, I'm going to hand you some exhibits which have been pre-marked for identification purposes.
Good morning,
Specifically,
Amber.
I'm gonna be
Good
handing
morning,
you
Carrie.
States exhibits 19 through 26, as well as 29 for identification.
What's up, Jonathan?
And I'm also going to be handing you States 112 for identification and 117 through 121 for identification purposes.
Yeah, if you missed it, I did a video on Patrick Mahomes Sr., who got arrested for DWI 2 days ago. Was that his first arrest? No. Second, for DWI? No. Third? No. 6. This guy's got arrested 6 times for
Ms.
DWI.
Maydell, are
Take
those
his
all
license
reports
away
that
from
you
him.
offered in connection with this case?
The F. Good morning, Mom. By the way, I have handed off my stickers to my mom, so when I do a contest, my mom wanted to help out.
Now, you were with us
She
last
will be
time
mailing them
discussing
out,
certain
folks.
DNA
My
results
mom and dad.
from evidence recovered from 69 Wells Lane, a 2014 Range Rover, and a 2017 Chevrolet Suburban. Did you conduct an additional
Hey, MJ.
analysis in this case?
I did.
And that analysis that you did was on evidence which was submitted to the State Forensic Laboratory in accordance with standard laboratory protocols. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, prior to receiving some of this evidence, it was actually analyzed by different units of the forensic laboratory, including the latent print unit as well as the forensic biology unit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, before we discuss the additional analysis that you did, I'd like to talk to you now about nuclear DNA and mitochondrial DNA. To begin with, what is nuclear DNA?
Nuclear DNA is DNA that's unique to an individual. It's found in the nucleus part of the cell. If you think of it as like an egg, the yellow part of an egg would be where the nucleus is, and your DNA, nuclear DNA is located there. You get half your nuclear DNA from your mother, half your nuclear DNA from your father.
Hey, Angel Baby. Hey,
And
Debbie.
conversely, what is mitochondrial
Hey,
DNA?
DLV.
Well, mitochondrial DNA is also found in the cell, but it's found in the white part of the cell. It's found in the mitochondrial organelles that are in the white part of the cell. I think previously I misspoke in my old testimony, first testimony, that mitochondrial DNA is on the X chromosome, which it's not. It's found in the mitochondrial. And this type of DNA is inherited maternally. So you get this DNA from your mother. So my mother has the same mitochondrial DNA as myself, and I pass that same mitochondrial DNA on to my children. So this is not unique to an individual.
What are the differences between nuclear DNA and mitochondrial DNA in terms of its ability to discriminate between individuals?
So nuclear DNA is unique to an individual besides identical twins, whereas mitochondrial DNA is not, because you have it in the same maternal line.
The last time you were here, we discussed nuclear DNA results. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
But you also did mitochondrial DNA testing in this case.
I did, yes.
And the analysis that we're going to discuss today actually addresses both of those different types of analysis depending on which item you looked at, correct?
Correct, yes.
I wanted to talk to you about the basics of DNA, specifically what types of things can destroy DNA or contaminate DNA potentially. Can water destroy DNA on a surface or make it harder to detect?
It can wash it away. Bleach is known to destroy DNA, UV light, but water can wash DNA away if it's poured on top of where DNA may have been left.
Can shampoo destroy DNA or make it harder to detect?
It's possible. Again, it would do the same effect as just water washing it away or getting rid of the DNA that may have been there.
Can wiping a surface either destroy or remove DNA?
Yes, again, it's possible. If you have a spill on the counter from juice or something and you wipe it away to that paper towel, it goes onto the paper towel. So same thing could happen if you wipe a surface with DNA, it could get onto the paper towel and then you could remove it.
How about vacuuming an area?
Same concept. Yep, you could possibly remove it from the surface.
Does the amount of time that DNA is on an object also influence whether or not it can be detected by your equipment?
Yes, of course. If it's there, if you leave DNA and then try and swab it and detect it right away, you might have a better result than if you wait a week or two.
And why is that?
Because it could get wiped away, it could degrade from the environment, you just would lose that DNA.
Now, when a DNA profile is developed, is it possible to tell whether or not the profile came from blood, saliva, skin cells, or any other source?
No, we cannot say that.
And just to refresh the jury's memory, you spoke with us last time about STR-Mix. What is that?
STR-Mix is the software that is used to help the DNA analyst interpret that DNA profile and give a statistical calculation to the weight of that evidence.
Now, I want to direct your attention to 2019 and the initial analysis that you conducted in this case. What DNA kit was the laboratory using at that point?
We were using for amplification, we're using a Fusion 6C amplification kit.
And what DNA kit does the laboratory use now?
Currently,
By the way, for folks who are on Kick, I don't know what is going on with their website. It's like their whole thing that was awesome when we first started was Kick was smooth, Kick was no lag, and then I was trying to watch Missy. We were all trying to watch Missy on Saturday. Kick was a nightmare, so I apologize if it's not working. I don't know what's going on. By the way, what's up, Miss Dina and Paulie3?
we use the Global Filer STR amplification kit, which is just a different company.
What are the differences between the two kits?
The two kits have a couple of different sites that the Fusion had a few more sites that the Global Filer kit does not have.
And so how can that influence or impact the DNA analysis?
So since all the evidence was processed with that Fusion 6C kit originally, most of it, some subsequent testing was done with Global Filer and evidence, but the original evidence that was done in 2019, 2020 was done with the Fusion kit, which had 27 sites and 23 of them were used to perform statistical analysis if you had a match. Currently, the Global Filer kit has 24 sites with only 21 sites being used for statistics. So if you compare a new known that was done with the new kit, Global Filer, and only has 21 sites to use to compare to the original Fusion kit, you can only use those 21 sites. So therefore, those two sites that you had information and evidence are not used for the statistical calculation.
Now, did you receive two separate known DNA samples from the defendant, Michelle Troconis, in this case?
I did, yes.
And the first one was received in 2019,
Yes,
and the second one was received in 2023, correct?
that is correct, yes.
And so did you generate a profile from the known DNA samples in both instances?
I did, yes.
And did you do an analysis of the second known profile against the evidence that had already been tested?
Yes, I wrote reports for the first comparisons when I compared her first known to all the evidence, and then in 2023, when her known was reprocessed with the new kit, I then went back and compared the new results of that known to all the previously done evidence.
Now, the new kit that you referred to is called what?
Global Filer?
And Global Filer has less testing sites than Fusion 6 did.
Yes.
Now, in addition to the 2 known samples that you received from the defendant, can you just refresh the jury's memory as to who else you received known samples from?
I received known samples from Otis Doulos, Lauren Almeida, the swabbing of the electric toothbrush used as a pseudo-known, Pavel Bumeni, and the 5 Doulos children.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention now to some of the specific analysis that you did and some of the results. Judge, if I may just have permission again to use my computer and be seated for the examination.
Yes.
And I'm just going to begin by publishing the stipulation again, Your Honor. Paragraph 10 of State's Exhibit 103. State Police Exhibit 502K, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as 4 pieces of black plastic garbage bag with duct tape attached to 2 pieces, contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 88. And Your Honor, I'm going to open up and display to the jury State Trial Exhibit 111A. Specifically a folder entitled State Police Exhibit 502K, Lab Submission 88. And there's a subfolder 88-3, which I'm opening. And I'm going to display the photograph 88-3S7. And Ms. Maydell, just for your benefit, I believe this is encompassed in DNA Supplemental Reports 4, 9, and 18. Excuse me. I apologize, 5, 10, and 18.
By the way, what I think we're looking out for here, I mean, obviously, probably, is that on any of this evidence is Michelle Troconis' DNA on it. Good morning, Deb.
So I'd like to discuss with you now, there was a swabbing which was done by Ms. Belonis, identified as 88-3S7. Did you have an opportunity to do a DNA analysis on that particular swabbing?
Yes, I did.
And what were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-3S7 being a mixture of 4 contributors, with at least 2 of them being male. Assuming 4 contributors, the DNA profile from 88-3S7 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals. In assuming 4 contributors, the DNA profile from 88-3S7 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from Otis Doulos and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals. Assuming 4 contributors, the DNA profile from item 88-3S7 is at least 780,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from Michelle Troconis and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals.
And did you also have an opportunity you indicated that you received two separate knowns from the defendant,
Yes,
and you, I guess, reanalyzed the evidence using the second known with the second kit. Is that correct?
the original evidence was not reanalyzed, but the comparison was done to the new known, which had two less sites.
Okay.
Yes.
And what were the results for that particular analysis with respect to the defendant?
Assuming 4 contributors, the Fusion 6C DNA profile from item 88-3S7 is at least 250,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from Michelle Troconis and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals.
So I'd like to talk to you now about the differences in those two stats. In the first analysis that you did, it was 780,000 times more likely, and in the second, 250,000 times more likely. Can you explain how that's possible, and is that first stat still valid?
Both stats are valid. It's just as I said before, when we switched to this new kit with a new known that was submitted last year, 2023, it had 2 less testing sites to use for statistical calculations. So therefore, when I compared the new known to the original evidence that had more data, I can't use those 2 sites because I don't have data from the known. So when you do the statistical calculation, you're losing those 2 sites when you're doing basically the product rule. So if you have 2 times 2 times 2, 21 times, 2 times 2 versus 23 times, you're obviously going to have a higher number with those 2 extra times that you're multiplying the numbers out.
And did you also do an analysis as to the Dulos children as well as Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni?
Yes, I did.
And that's found in DNA supplemental report number 10 for your benefit. What were the results of that?
First, Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni were both eliminated as possible contributors to that 4-person mixture. When comparing all 5 children, they were all at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if they originated from individually each of those children and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals.
So, Ms. Maydell, does that mean that the children touched this bag or that it is, in fact, the children's DNA?
I can't say who touched the bag for any of these conclusions. All I can say is looking at this 4-person mixture, it appears that the 2 major contributors that are contributing to this 4-person mixture are contributing about the same amount. So approximately the same amount from both of those 2 major contributors. And if those 2 major contributors are the parents of these children, you get half your DNA from your mother and half your DNA from your father. So if your parents' DNA is all there, of course you're going to have your profile be there, your types be there, because both your parents are contributing to that profile.
She was sped up before. She is
I'd like
now
to
regular
talk to you
speed.
about the remainder of the 88
Morning, Schweddy.
DNA results, if
Hey,
I could,
Amy.
specifically beginning with 88-3S1. And for the remainder of these, Ms. Maydell, those will be found in supplemental reports 4, 9, and 18 for your benefit. So beginning with 88-3S1, which was identified as a swabbing of a knot area by Miss Velonis, what were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from 88-3S1 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from item 88-3S1 is at least 26,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals. Assuming 2 contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Fotis Doulos could be a contributor to the DNA profile from item 88-3S1. And Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a contributor to the DNA profile from item 88-3S1.
And we're in supplemental number 9, were Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni eliminated as well?
Yes, that is correct. They were both eliminated.
And with respect to the children, what were the results?
Sorry, which report is that?
DNA supplemental report number 9.
Oh, that's also 9. All 5 children had low likelihood ratio.
Wow. Ada JD coming in hot with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Ada. That was so kind. Thank you.
Is calculated, so they are inconclusive as to whether they can be contributors to this profile, 883S1.
And since it's displayed in the photograph, I wanted to jump ahead to 883S5. Which was identified as a hair-like fiber in the knot of the bag. You performed mitochondrial DNA analysis on this. I believe it can be found in your report, DNA supplemental report number 12.
Yes.
And can you just indicate to the jury what the results were?
So for this hair, I attempted to get nuclear DNA from the hair, and I was not successful. There was no nuclear DNA detected. So because of that, we then went to the hair shaft and tried to get mitochondrial DNA profile from that hair. So which I did obtain a full mitochondrial DNA profile from 883S5. So the mitochondrial DNA sequence from 883S5 and 7G1 are the same. Therefore, the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush cannot be excluded as a source of 883S5. I feel like I should explain that conclusion a little bit more because I don't think we talked about how mitochondrial DNA conclusions are different than nuclear.
Sure.
Since it's not unique to an individual and it's through the same maternal line, we say if 2 profiles match in the mitochondrial, that they can't be excluded as coming from the same source or anybody in that maternal line. So a little bit different for mitochondrial DNA sequencing versus looking at those repeats that I talked about last time, where we were looking at, say, 4 letters, A, G, T, T, repeated 9, 10 times. That gives you your type. For mitochondrial DNA, you're looking at the actual order of those bases. So say you have the letter CAT, that spells cat. If you rearrange those letters and you do ACT, that is act. So those 2 do not match. They're 2 different profiles. So that's mitochondrial DNA. That's what we're actually looking at, is the order of the bases to see if they match. And then we say, if they do match, they cannot be excluded. And then we search the database of all these profiles to see how common or rare that profile is. It's a more of a frequency estimate versus a likelihood ratio. So after I made the conclusion that 883S5 and the profile from 7G1, the toothbrush, are a match, I then searched the database to see how common or rare that sequence is. We typically report the 3 major ethnic groups in Connecticut unless there's a match within another ethnic group, and then we report all those statistics. So I'll read those now. So in the African American population, I wouldn't expect to see this profile in more than 0.32% of the population. In the Caucasian population, 1.33% of the population. Hispanic, 0.42% of the population. Asian, 0.46% of the population. And Native American, 0.62% of the population. Now, in comparing that profile from 883S5 to the mitochondrial DNA profile from Fotis Doulos, Michelle Troconis, Lauren Almeida, and Pavel Gumeni, they're all excluded as being a possible source of that profile from the hair. I could also explain that we didn't test the children's mitochondrial DNA because it was irrelevant, because we have the mitochondrial DNA profile from the toothbrush, and it would have been the same.
Yeah, and speaking of the toothbrush, just to refresh the jury's memory, you did a parental analysis on the toothbrush to determine the likelihood that the profile on the toothbrush was...
Bing bong, bing bong, testing 1 2 3, bing bong yo bing bong.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Missy. You're the best. There you go, Donnie. That was for you, Donnie, from Missy. You're the best. Thank you so much, Missy.
Related to Petros Doulos, is that correct?
Correct. I made a maternity paternity stat to the toothbrush to one of the children to show, yes.
And I don't want to misquote, but I think it was something like 8 billion times more likely to be the mother of Petros Doulos.
It was something around that, yes. I don't know if I have that report here with me.
I believe it's DNA Supplemental Report 16.
16, let's see. Frequency of individuals who could be the parent of Petros Doulos is less than 1 in 8.1 billion people in the general population.
I wanted to go back to 883S7 for a second, if I could. This was the result in which you concluded that the defendant was 780,000 times more likely to be a contributor or 250,000 times more likely to be a contributor, depending on which kit you use.
So there you go. Michelle Troconis, either 700,000 more likely or 250,000 more likely to be a contributor to DNA found on the garbage bags where they were getting rid of evidence. Right?
And
That's
I know
what that
you
is?
indicated that you can't tell us how DNA got onto a particular object. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
But I want you to assume the following facts are true. I want you to assume that the defendant in her third interview with police indicated to them that she held a bag open for Mr. Doulos as he deposited something in the bag. Is it possible that her DNA could have gotten on the bag as she was holding it?
Yes, that's possible. We know that if you come in contact with something, it is possible for you to leave your own DNA behind on an item.
Now I'm going to display in.
So there you go, guys. She's holding a bag where Fotis is getting rid of evidence, and she had no idea what was going on. Come on.
This folder,
She says it was like coffee. She thought it was coffee when it was blood.
which is State Police Exhibit 502K Lab Submission 88, Subfolder 88.3. There was additional swabbing, specifically 88.3S2 and 88.3S3. 88.3S2 was identified as a reddish-brown staining on the exterior, and 88.3S3 was identified as a reddish-brown staining on the exterior, both approximate areas of swabbing displayed in this particular photograph. What were the results for these two particular swabs? And this can be found in DNA reports 4, 9, and 18.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88.3S2 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 88.3S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from one unknown individual.
And were all other known profiles eliminated?
Yes, all other known profiles eliminated.
And then with respect to 88.3S3, the reddish-brown staining on the exterior, was that the same result?
That is not number 4.
With you, buddy. We're gonna be buddies. We're gonna be pals. We're gonna wrestle around.
Lisa Hawk fan becoming a beau. Get the Capri Suns out. Thank you so much, Lisa. Welcome. Whoops. Whoops-a-daisy.
Yes.
Yes, same results, single female individual. Yes,
Okay, so 100 billion times more likely to originate from the profile generated from the toothbrush, and all other known individuals were eliminated?
correct, yes.
And then on this same item, 88.3S4, I'm displaying that photograph, lab 88.3S4, and this was identified as exposed sticky sides of duct tape.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from 88.3S4 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from item 88.3S4 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it came from 2 unknown individuals. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as contributors to item 88.3S4.
And as were all other known individuals, is that correct?
That is correct. Lauren Almeida, Paul Gumeni, and all 5 children were eliminated.
And I'm going to go to state trial exhibit 109 now. And I'm going to open a folder entitled State Police Exhibit 502U, Lab Submission 41. And I'm going to publish paragraph 12 of that same stipulation. State Police Exhibit 502U, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as 1 black plastic garbage bag tied in a knot containing a shirt and bra with blood-like substance contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 41. So I'm opening State Trial Exhibit 109 folders, State Police Exhibit 502U, Lab Submission 41. And Ms. Maydell, for your benefit, this can be found in your very first DNA report, as well as supplemental reports 1, 9, and 18. And I'm displaying the photograph, Lab 41.1 exterior front.
So you said 41.1S1?
Correct. That is identified as a portion of a reddish-brown stain from the shirt. What were the results?
So in the first report, it was only compared to the swabbing of the electric toothbrush. The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 41.1S1 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from item 41.1S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals.
And then in supplemental reports 1, 9, and 18, would it be fair to say that all other known profiles were eliminated as being contributors to that particular profile?
Yes, that is correct. Everyone else was eliminated.
And I'm going to display a photograph entitled Lab 41.2 exterior front. Excuse me, strike that. I'm going to display Lab 41.2. Specifically 41.2S1, which was identified as a portion of reddish-brown stain from bra. And this can be found for your benefit, Ms. Maydell, in supplemental reports 2, 9, and 18. Can you just indicate to the jury what the results were?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from 41-2S1 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from 41-2S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as contributors to 41-2S1.
And then with respect to supplemental report number 9, the results were inconclusive as to the Doulos children, is that correct?
That is correct. And Lauren Almeida and Paul Bohemia are also eliminated as contributors.
And just sticking with this particular submission, 41-3. And specifically the swabbing 41-3S2. And this was identified as a swabbing of the knot interior. What were the results? And this is found in 2, 9, and 18.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 41-3S2 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from 41-3S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals. The results do not support the hypothesis that Fotis Doulos is a contributor to this profile. Assuming 2 contributors, Fotis Doulos is eliminated as a contributor to item 41-3S2. The same conclusion for Michelle Troconis. The results do not support the hypothesis that she's a contributor. Assuming 2 contributors, Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a contributor to 41-3S2.
And with respect to the children, were the results that it was inconclusive as to whether or not they could be contributors to the profile?
That is correct.
And Pavel Gumieni and Lauren Almeida were eliminated.
Yes, the results did not support the hypothesis that they were contributors. They were also eliminated.
And just to refresh the jury's recollection, when you're saying that a result is inconclusive, what exactly does that mean?
That means that when we perform our likelihood ratio statistic, the number generated is above our elimination threshold, but below our threshold to say that it's a positive association. So we say no comparison, no conclusion can be made for that comparison.
I'm going to direct your attention now to 41-3-31S1 or 31S1, identified as a reddish-brown stain on the panty liner found within that particular submission. Did you get any results?
I got timed out on the Jax Maloney Show. Bingbin.
Thank you, Donnie. Thanks, Donnie.
No DNA profile was generated from that sample.
Okay. And how about 41-3-1S2, which was a swabbing of the absorbent side of that particular panty liner?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 41-3-1S2, originating from a single individual. Due to the limited data detected from 41-3-1S2, the comparison to the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is inconclusive. Due to the limited data detected from that same item, the comparison to Fotis Doulos is inconclusive. Michelle Troconis is eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from 41-3-1S2.
And is it also fair to say in DNA supplemental report number 9, you concluded that Lauren Almeida, Pavel Gumieni, Petros Doulos, and Noel Doulos were eliminated as well?
Correct. And due to the limited data detected, the comparison to Constantine, Christiane, and Theodore are also inconclusive.
I want to just read a stipulation, paragraph 13 of State's Exhibit 103. State Police Exhibit 154, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Michael Butin on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one FedEx envelope, color white, containing 2 altered Connecticut license plates, seized from the scene storm drain at 1344 Albany Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut. It was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as submission 96. So I'm opening up State Trial Exhibit 109, the folder, State Police Exhibit 154, lab submission 96. And I'm just going to display this. Lab 96, 1S1. These were photographs that it came to your attention that these particular license plates and the FedEx envelope that contained them were in a sewer drain. Is that correct?
Yes, that was in the description, yes.
So I want to just direct your attention to DNA report number 6, supplemental report number 6. Were you able to generate a profile on either of these license plates or the FedEx envelope?
Can you repeat the numbers, please?
It's DNA supplemental report number 6.
Sorry, no, the item numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
96-1, 96-2, and 96-3.
No DNA profile was obtained from any of those swabbings.
Okay, so the license plates that were found in the sewer drain did not have any, you were not able to get a profile?
We did not detect any DNA, no.
Could you just indicate to the jury how those items being in a sewer drain could have potentially influenced any DNA evidence that might have been contained on them?
Well, DNA, a sewer probably has water in it, I would believe. So water being exposed to the evidence that was sitting in the sewer drain would possibly wash it away. Also, depending how long it was in the sewer drain makes a big impact on getting rid of DNA also.
I'm going to read a stipulation now, paragraph 2. State Police Exhibit 502A, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one clear plastic bag with blood-like substance contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as submission number 50. And staying within State Trial Exhibit 109, I'm opening up the folder entitled State Police Exhibit 502A. Lab.
So thank you. Yes, Meg and Mio, I believe, they're establishing that the blood was all from Jennifer. She didn't run away. This was a murder. Also, secondly, the DNA on the garbage bags was Michelle's, that they were getting rid of evidence. At least one of the garbage bags they were getting rid of evidence with was Michelle's. Good morning, Natalie.
Lab submission 50. And I'm displaying Lab 50 with paper added. There was a swabbing done here identified as 51S2, a portion of a reddish-brown staining on the exterior as received. And the results of this can be found in DNA supplemental reports number 2, 9, and 18.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 51S2 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from item 51S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as contributors to the DNA profile from 51S2.
And then with respect to the children in DNA supplemental report number 9, is it fair to say that the results were inconclusive as to all Doulos children, whether or not they could be contributors to the profile?
That is correct, and Lauren and Pavel are both eliminated as contributors.
Attorney McGinnis, it may be helpful if the jury does not recall what those items are to indicate what the items are in the photo.
There we go.
Oh, yes, sir.
The
This
judge
is lab
telling
submission
the
number
prosecution
50,
how to do their
which
job
was
again.
identified as State Police Exhibit 502A, 1 clear plastic bag with blood-like substance, seized from Hartford.
Your Honor, for the record, isn't it blood-like stain is what it refers to rather than substance?
The stipulation that we entered into indicates blood-like substance.
Yeah, I get lost in the weeds too. I'm not very bright. This is
And
hard
I
for
want
me.
to direct your attention now
keep up
to DNA supplemental report number 12. There were hair-like fibers that were taken from submission number 50 that you did mitochondrial DNA testing on. Is that correct?
That is correct. I tried to do nuclear DNA testing and did not develop a profile, so then we went to mitochondrial DNA testing.
And is it fair to say that everyone was eliminated?
Yes, I developed a full mitochondrial DNA profile, and none of the profiles matched to any of the known profiles matched to this evidence.
I'm just going to read paragraph 3. State Police Exhibit 502B, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as 1 clear plastic bag with blood-like substance contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as submission number 51. I'm going to stay within that same disk and open up that folder. And I'm displaying the photograph entitled Lab 51 as received. Now, there were swabbings taken by biology of this as well, beginning with, and these next several results, Ms. Mado, can be found in 2, 9, and 18 for your benefit. Beginning with 51 1S3, which was identified as reddish-brown staining of the exterior. Could you indicate to the jury what the results were?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from 51 1S3 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from 51 S3 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual.
And then is it fair to say that all known profiles that you analyzed were eliminated from this particular sample?
Yes, that is correct.
And 51 1S4, which was identified as a reddish-brown staining from the front lower opening, were the results the same in that it was 100 billion times more likely that the profile generated from the toothbrush was a contributor than an unknown person and all other individuals or all other known individuals were eliminated?
Yes, it was a single female profile.
And 51-1S5, which was identified as a reddish-brown stain from the hood top area. Same results?
Yes.
Just going to display the photograph 51-1S6 and 51-1S7. With respect to 51-1S6, was it the same results, 100 billion times more likely to be generated, that profile to be generated from the profile obtained from the toothbrush as opposed to an unknown person, and all other known individuals were eliminated?
Yes.
How about 51-1S7?
Same results.
Now I'm going to display the photograph, lab 51, 1S3, and S4, and S5, and S6, and S8. And 51, 1S8, what were the results?
Same results.
Okay, and that was identified as a swabbing from the exterior of hood.
Correct.
I don't know that I identified 51, 1S6 and 51, 1S7, so I'll just do that for the record. 51S6, for which you received the same results, was identified as a swabbing from the interior of hood. Is that correct?
Yes.
And 51-1S7 was identified as reddish-brown staining from the interior front. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I want to jump ahead to also 51-1S2, which was identified as a hard whitish material with reddish brown staining. There was a swabbing done of that as well, which was identified as 51-1S2-2. Is that correct?
51-1S2.
And I think this can be found in DNA report 11 and 19.
Profile from item 51. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on one second. 51 refers to it as 51S2-2.
That's correct.
Okay. The DNA profile from item 51S2-2 originating from a single female individual, assuming one individual, the DNA profile from 51S2-2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. And all other knowns are eliminated from that profile.
I'm going to jump ahead to State Trial Exhibit 111A. This was Anita Valonis's disc. And I'm just going to read a stipulation, Your Honor. State Police Exhibit 502C, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one yellow and green kitchen sponge with blood-like substance contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 54. I'm just going to open that folder and display the photograph entitled Lab 54S1 and 54S2. And Ms. Maydell, just for your benefit, all of these results with respect to this particular submission can be found in Supplemental Reports 3, 9, and 18.
Okay. The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 54S1 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from 54S1 is at least 7.2 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from 54S1.
And is it also fair to say that all of the Doulos children, Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni, were eliminated as well?
Yes, that is correct.
And just to refresh the jury's memory, when you say that something is consistent with being a single female or a single contributor, what does that mean exactly?
That there is no evidence of more than one person contributing to that profile.
And just for the record, 54S1 was identified as a reddish-brown stain along the short edge. Is that correct?
Yes, mine is, it's called a stain on a sponge along short edge.
And I want to direct your attention now to 54S2, which is identified as a reddish-brown stain near short edge.
Just got a $10 cash app from my man Brad. I got that about 5 minutes ago. I hope you're still here, Brad. Thank you so much, Brad.
What were the results with respect to that?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 54S2 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 54S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. Fotis Doulos, Michelle Troconis, and all other knowns are eliminated to that single female profile.
And swabbing 54S3 was identified as swabbing of areas on yellow portion. I'm displaying the photo lab 54S3. What were the results of your DNA analysis for that particular swabbing?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 54S3 being a mixture of two contributors. Assuming two contributors, the DNA profile from item 54S3 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and one unknown individual than if it originated from two unknown individuals. Fotis Doulos is eliminated as a contributor to item 54S3. Assuming two contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Michelle Troconis could be a contributor to the DNA profile from item 54S3.
And then would it be also fair to say that the Doulos children, Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni, were eliminated as contributors to this profile?
Yes, that is correct.
Just going to read a stipulation, paragraph 5 of States 103. State Police Exhibit 502D, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one black rubber and fabric glove with dirt-like substance contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 61. I'm just going to stay within that folder, and I'm going to display the photo entitled Lab 61S1 through 61S3.
Oh, shit. Amy Bow Slime said, happy belated, just in a $20 Venmo from Amy Bow Slime. Happy belated anniversary. Thanks for the continued laughter and fun. Thank you so much, Amy. You're OG. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you.
And for your benefit, Ms. Maydell, these results can be found in DNA report, supplemental reports 3, 9, and 18.
S1 was a swabbing of a glove interior palm side. The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 61S1 originating from a single individual. The source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is eliminated as a source of the DNA profile from item 61S1. Due to the limited data detected from 61S1, the comparison to Fotis Dulos and Michelle Troconis are inconclusive.
And were the results also inconclusive as to the Dulos children and Lauren Almeida?
That is correct, and Pavel is eliminated.
Now, with respect to 61S2, which is identified as a swabbing of a reddish-brown soil-type staining on the exterior palm side cuff edge, what were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 61S2, originating from a single individual. Due to the limited data detected from item 61S2, the comparison to the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is inconclusive. Fotis Dulos, Michelle Troconis are eliminated as a source of the DNA profile from 61S2.
And with respect to the children, were the results inconclusive as to them?
That is correct, and Lauren and Pavel are eliminated.
And 61-1S3, which was identified as swabbing soil-type deposits exterior palm side cuff area, you did not get a profile for that particular test, correct?
61S3, correct. No DNA profile was detected.
And I'm opening up the photo entitled Lab 61S4 and 61S5. 61S4 was identified as swabbing of interior palm side. Can you indicate for the jury what the results were with respect to the interior palm side of this particular glove?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 61S4 originating from a single individual. The source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from item 61S4. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 61S4 is at least 27,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from Fotis Dulos than if it originated from an unknown individual. Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a source of the DNA profile from 61S4.
And also fair to say the Dulos children, Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni, were eliminated as well, correct?
That is correct.
And 61-1S5, which was identified as swabbing of interior back of hand. Can you indicate to the jury what the results were for that particular swab?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 61S5 being a mixture of two contributors. The source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is eliminated as a source of the DNA profile from item 61S5. Assuming two contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive to whether Fotis Dulos could be a contributor to the profile from 61S5. Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a contributor to the DNA profile from item 61S5. The results do not support the hypothesis that Petros Dulos or Theodore Dulos are contributors to this profile. Assuming two contributors, Petros Dulos and Theodore Dulos, are eliminated as contributors to item 61S5. Assuming two contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Constantine, Christiane, or C. Noel Dulos could be contributors to the DNA profile from item 61S5. Lauren and Pavel are eliminated as contributors.
Publishing paragraph 6 of States 103. State Police Exhibit 502E seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one pair of black husky gloves contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 62. I'm going to open that folder. Just going to display the photograph entitled Lab 62 1S1. 62 1S1 was identified as the swabbing of left glove interior palm side. Can you indicate to the jury what the results were?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 62 1S1 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 62 1S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. All other knowns are eliminated.
And 61 1S2 and 1S3, I'm now displaying that particular photograph, which shows the approximate area where those swabbings took place. Were the results the same, meaning that 100 billion times more likely to have originated from the profile generated from the toothbrush, and all other knowns were eliminated with respect to 62 1S2 and 62 1S3?
We're a little behind, so I'm going to speed this up a little.
That is correct.
And just for the record, 62 1S2 was identified as reddish-brown staining on exterior logo at back of hand, and 62 1S3 was identified as reddish-brown staining areas on exterior wrist closure. I'd like to talk to you now about the right glove. We were just talking about the left glove, which was identified as 62-2. There were also swabbings taken of this. I'm displaying the photograph entitled Lab 62 2S1 and 62 2S3. 62 2S1 was identified as swabbing of right glove interior palm side. What were the results with respect to that?
Results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 62 2S1 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from 62 2S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. Photos, Doulos, Michelle Troconis are eliminated as 62 2S1.
As are all other knowns, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
62 2S2 is identified as reddish-brown staining on exterior logo on back of hand. I'm going to try to display that photograph. Here we go. This is photograph Lab 62 2S2 and 62 2S4. Could you indicate the results for 62 2S2?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 62 2S2 being a mixture of two contributors. Assuming two contributors, the DNA profile from item 62 2S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and one unknown individual than if it originated from two unknown individuals. Photos, Doulos is eliminated as a contributor to the DNA profile from 62 2S2. The results do not support the hypothesis that Michelle Troconis is a contributor to this profile. Assuming two contributors, Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a contributor to DNA profile from 62 2S2.
And with respect to the children?
Given the, assuming two contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Petros, Constantine, Christiane, C. Noel, or Theodore could be contributors to the profile from 62S2. The results do not support the hypothesis that Lauren Almeida is a contributor to this profile. Assuming two contributors, Lauren Almeida is eliminated as a contributor to this profile, and Pavel is also eliminated as a contributor to 62 2S2.
And Judge, I just have two more swabbings for this particular submission and then perhaps the morning recess.
Yes.
Directing your attention now to 62 2S3, which is identified as reddish-brown staining, stitching on wrist closure, palm side. Could you indicate to the jury what the results were? And this is in 3, 9, and 18.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 62 2S3 originating from a single female individual. So this same conclusion, this ceiling stat, and everybody else is eliminated.
Okay, when you say the ceiling stat, it's 100
billion times more likely.
That it originated from the profile generated on the toothbrush?
Yes, versus an unknown individual.
And just with respect to 62 2S4, which is identified as reddish-brown staining on the stitching on wrist closure, back of hand.
Same conclusions.
In other words, 100 billion times more likely to be the profile from the toothbrush.
Correct. It's an unknown individual, and everybody else is eliminated.
Judge, is this a good time to take a morning recess?
Yes. We'll stand in our morning recess, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not discuss the case.
I assume they're going until 11:30, even though he didn't say it, since it's 11:15 right now. If you're coming in late, from what I can gather from the DNA analysis, I'm no Bill Nye, but all the blood was Jennifer's, and they did find that the garbage bags had Michelle's DNA on it. The garbage bags that they were getting rid of evidence had, I can go back to that if I can find it. Good morning, Roseanne. Good to see you.
Individuals who could be the parent of Petros Jules is less than 1 in 8.
Kellyanne, I don't know if the plastic pieces are her teeth. I'm not even sure what the plastic pieces
0.1 billion
are.
people in the general population.
I wanted to conclude that the defendant was 780,000 times more likely to be a contributor.
Here it is.
250,000 times.
All right, here it is. This right here is where they talk about it. This is the garbage bag. This is the evidence.
I wanted to go back to 88-3S7 for a second, if I could. This was the result in which you concluded that the defendant was 780,000 times more likely to be a contributor, or 250,000 times more likely to be a contributor, depending on which kit you used. And I know you indicated that you can't tell us how DNA got onto a particular object. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
But I want you to assume the following facts are true. I want you to assume that the defendant in her third interview with police indicated to them that she held a bag open for Mr. Doulos as he deposited something in the bag. Is it possible that her DNA could have gotten on the bag as she was holding it?
Yes, that's possible. We know that if you come in contact with something, it is possible for you to leave your own DNA behind on an item.
So she's holding a bag that Fotis is getting rid of evidence with. Her DNA is on it. Like, what's the only defense is that she didn't know that he was getting rid of. She thought it was coffee, not blood, and he was getting rid of something else. I'm not buying it. This is going to be a guilty, in my opinion. In my not so bright opinion, this is going to be a guilty. Her DNA is on the bag. Come on. She admits to holding the bag, but she didn't know what it was. Come on.
And Ms. Maydell, just for your benefit, I believe this is encompassed in DNA Supplemental Reports 4, 9, and 18. To discuss with you now, there was a swabbing which was done by Ms. Velonis, identified as 88-3S7. Did you have an opportunity to do a DNA analysis on that particular swabbing?
Yes, I did.
And what were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-3S7 being a mixture of 4 contributors, with at least 2 of them being male. Assuming 4 contributors.
$5 Venmo from Roseanne. Thank you so much, Roseanne. Really appreciate it.
The DNA profile from 88-3S7 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush, and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals. In assuming 4 contributors, the DNA profile from 883S7 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from Fotis Doulos and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals. Assuming 4 contributors, the DNA profile from item 883S7 is at least 780,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from Michelle Troconis and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals.
And did you also have an opportunity?
So there you go. I don't know what that means, but they said Michelle Troconis, so I think they're trying to say she's. I mean,
to
it's 100. I think it's 850,000 times more likely that it was Michelle Troconis's DNA than someone else.
You indicated that you received 2 separate knowns from the defendant.
Yes.
And you, I guess, reanalyzed the evidence using the second known with the second kit.
All right.
Is that correct?
The original evidence was not reanalyzed, but the comparison was done to the new known, which had 2 less sites. Okay. Yes.
And what were the results for that particular analysis with respect to the defendant?
Assuming 4 contributors, the Fusion 6C DNA profile from item 883S7 is at least 250,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from Michelle Troconis and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals.
All right. So that's where we're at, folks. About 8 more minutes until we get back from break. If they come back at 11:30, which I believe they will. If you guys missed it, I did a stream this morning about another case that I am going to potentially start covering, possibly today. I don't think so. More likely tomorrow or Wednesday. There's a case in Alaska where this is the rough short synopsis. A woman steals. She's with a guy. They're trying to hook up, or I think it might be like a worker situation. I could be wrong, but anyway, a woman is with a dude. He goes out of the truck. She steals some stuff out of the truck. In the truck is a thumb drive. She takes the thumb drive. She looks at the thumb drive, and what's on the thumb drive? Evidence, including a video of the man that she was with committing a murder. On the thumb drive, him actually murdering this person. There's evidence of it. So she brings it to the police. She brings it to the police, and as they're interrogating him, he's like, by the way, this isn't the only case. And there's another case. These are 2 indigenous women that were murdered, one of which they have literal video of this guy doing it, apparently, but he's pleading not guilty. They had an interview I showed where they walk through his wife has no idea about this. In this interview, I'm going to try to make a video of this, and probably this afternoon. There is 0.0 chance that I'm going to watch this afternoon's testimony of Schoenhorn cross-examining this DNA expert. That ain't happening. So I'm probably going to work on a video for this this trial that's coming up tomorrow. And this guy had a YouTube channel. So what else? So the guy, they find the evidence. Also, the day after the murder, this guy is selling on like Facebook Marketplace. He's selling his computer. He's selling his drone. He's selling a camera, I think. I got lost now. So there's a second woman. There's 2 women he's on trial for. Oh, there is an interview by the local. I played it before. I'll make a video of it. There's an interview with his wife. This guy's wife, who has no idea this is going on. They're literally walking through her house at his house, both their house. She's showing the interviewer the thumb drives, what they look like, that the police showed. And then they're like, oh, here's the part of the carpet where they found blood in my house that they removed from my house. Brian Smith, yeah, he's from South Africa, moved to Alaska. They're literally showing on this interview, her walking in her house and the part of the carpet that the police took out because it had blood on it. So they are picking now. It's Alaska, so it's a different. It's 3 to 4 hours. So they haven't even started yet. They may have started yet. I'm not sure what time they started, but they have like a certain pool of jurors that they go through today and tomorrow, and they should be starting. And then it's supposed to be 3 to 4 weeks of a trial. Now, the question becomes: there are like 4 media outlets in Alaska who are approved to stream the trial. I'm hoping at least 2 of them stream it. My concern is if only one of them streams it and it's like a smaller news channel, then they come at me for a copyright strike, and I cannot take that chance. So I'm really hoping we can cover this case. Just waiting to see who's going to cover this. The courtroom has a feed, but they're like, you can't. There's only 4. There's 5 names in the approved list, but 2 of them are the same station. From what I looked at. So, and Long Crime is not one of them. Now, I don't know. Can Long Crime pay to like have footage from a local affiliate? I don't know how that works. So me and Steve, I see Publicly Buzzed is in here. He is going to be covering this as well. So make sure you subscribe to Publicly Buzz if you're not already. So that's what we're going to look to pivot to. As long as I can cover it, I'm going to cover it. They're starting jury selection today and then possibly tomorrow. So make sure you have notifications on. And I'll do this on Kick too. So if you subscribe to Kick, even if you don't watch it on Kick, it's better to get notifications. Afi asks, how did I know about this case? Good question. A person named Kate the Flake, who is on Twitter, tagged me in an AP article that I went through in this morning. Check out this morning's live if you guys missed it. Check out this morning's live. I kind of go over the case, and then she tagged me. I looked into it. Then Dizzy already, of course, knew about it, so Dizzy gave us a bunch of info. So me and Steve are gonna cover this gavel to gavel as they. Yes, CH. There are terms that I would have had to requested access in like by January 31st, and I of course did not. And I don't even know if they'll get access if I ask for access, because being I'm not like a new. I gotta try it at least once. I don't know what the qualifications are to get proved by a court to stream their not rewind. I have another live stream. I'll put it in the chat where I talk about this case. I already ended it. I set it up. I didn't plan it because I wasn't really planning on showing this, but I'll share it in the chat now if you want to take a look at it. How do I get the share on this? Hold on. I'm gonna put it in the link now if you want to check it out. We talked about it this morning. It was very quick. I wasn't planning on doing it. Can local news copyright claim you? Well, a YouTube channel absolutely can. Will they? I don't know. Hopefully more than one affiliate covers it, and I think they might. It's a big case. Yeah, and we're going to be sharing, if we do cover it, even if we don't, Mandy, if you want to put it in the chat, there's a website that for awareness of missing and murdered indigenous women. We're going to be posting that throughout the trial. I know Mandy had been telling me about this a while ago. She was interested in this, so we'll be sharing that link. Mandy, if you want to share it now, you're welcome to put it in the chat. What else? Oh, I'll put the stream in Kick too. But yeah, I'm not going to be if this afternoon on this case is going to be Schornhorn cross-examining the DNA witness. There is 0.0. Did you guys see the clip I posted? By the way, I got to thank Hospice Jess who gave me the heads up to look at this. Last week when we weren't covering the case, Schornhorn has a witness, and he's like, he literally asks, is it normal, like, would you collect evidence in a garbage can? And the lady's like, of course I wouldn't collect evidence in a garbage can. You jackass. She doesn't say jackass, but I can't take this Schoenhorn guy anymore. I can't take it. So, if he's going to cross this afternoon, there will be no afternoon stream, and I'll either work on my Donna Adelson stream that I'm a video that I'm making, or I'll work on a video about this case. What was I going to say? Oh, they're going to be back any second now. I was going to say, I watched the Grammys. I didn't watch all the Grammys, but Tracy Chapman just was amazing. That performance was amazing. But I will say this, from what I saw, when you're at the Grammys, not every single thing that happens needs a standing ovation. Mariah Carey coming out to introduce an award doesn't need a standing ovation. Like that crappy performance by, who was the first person? Dua Lipa? Didn't need a standing ovation. Like, calm your tits, Grammys. Not everything needs a standing ovation. I mean, geez, everyone standing up about everything. Calm down. What are you doing? And then as far as our, we're back. Our anniversary dinner was amazing. Good morning, Kelly. Thanks for being here. You're going to laugh at what I got. No one asked me, but I'm going to tell you, and you're going to laugh. It's such a kid's meal, but it was so good. In addition to 2 large margs, 2 massive margaritas.
Oh, we're ready for the jury judge.
I got it was mac and cheese, buffalo chicken, mac and cheese, and it was in like a skillet. And holy chamoli, it was so good. We also, of course, had some fried mozzarella as an appetizer. Babe got chicken alla vaca, penne alla vaca. And I had I said this before, I had the perfect ratio of edible to margaritas. You know what, like the perfect ratio when you feel like you're John Travolta in Pulp Fiction when he's driving the car and he's just kind of like, it was like I had the perfect ratio. I don't very often have the perfect ratio. Sometimes the alcohol is too strong. Sometimes the marijuana is too strong. This was the perfect ratio, if you know what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to shut up.
103, paragraph
Babe
7.
did not have the perfect
State Police
ratio.
Exhibit
Her ratio was a
502H,
little heavy
seized from
towards the
by Sergeant
margarita.
Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified
Good morning,
as
Southern
4
Charm.
large white zip ties with blood-like substance contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene.
Babe had a little too much marg, but don't worry, she had a fine time, right, Babe? Hey, RV, there yet? Thank you. We had a great time, and I said, first of all, I'm going to just say this really quick. I mentioned halfway during our dinner, we're like, oh, we're talking about how much we hate Wendy Adelson. Do we have a problem? That was pretty funny. And then this was pretty funny. I said to Babe, I said, wow, this is I'm glad we're doing this. This is really good. Maybe we should do this more often. To which she replied, yes, maybe we should go out more than just my birthday and our anniversary. Because of course, that's my fault. So I'm going to make that happen.
Corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 52.
No, Donnie, I didn't drive. I took an Uber,
State
Donnie.
Trial Exhibit 109.
You were trying to push my button there,
in
Donnie.
the Lab Submission 52 folder, and I'm displaying the photograph entitled 52 1S1 through 52 4S1. I want to just direct your attention now to some swabbings that were taken of this particular submission. And Ms. Maydell, for your benefit, the results can be found in your reports, supplemental reports 2, 9, and 18. Of surface.
Are consistent with the DNA profile from item 52 1S1, originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 52 1S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual.
And Attorney McGinnis, would you again remind the jury about what they are seeing on the screen?
Yes, Judge, these were the zip ties seized from Hartford, Exhibit 502H, submission number 52.
Thank you.
And all other knowns were eliminated as a contributor.
And just to be clear, so the profile was, it was 100 billion times more likely to have been generated by the profile you found on the electric toothbrush than an unknown individual. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was a single female profile?
Correct.
And with respect to swabbings 52 2S1, swabbing of surface including stains, 52 3S3, swabbing of surface including stains, and 52 4S1, swabbing of surface including stains, were the results identical?
Yes, they were.
And I'm displaying Lab 52 3S2. That's a photograph. What were the DNA results for swabbing 52 3S2 identified as a reddish brown stain?
The same results as the other 4 from the zip ties.
Single female, 100 billion times more likely to be the profile from the electric toothbrush?
Yes, and all other knowns eliminated.
Publishing paragraph 8 of that same stipulation. State Police Exhibit 502I, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one white standard textile towel with blood-like substance contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as submission 53. I'm going to open up that folder in State Trial Exhibit 109. And I'm opening the photograph entitled Lab 51 3S1 and 53S2. With respect to the swabbing 53S1, which was a swabbing of a portion of a reddish brown stain, what were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 53S1 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from item 53S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as contributors to the DNA profile from 53S1.
And then with respect to the children?
Assuming 2 contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Petros, Constantine, Christiane, C. Noel, or Theodore Doulos could be contributors to the DNA profile from 53S1. Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumini are eliminated as contributors.
I might stand corrected on that. It may not have been a swabbing. It may have actually been a cutting of the 53S1 may have actually been a cutting of the towel.
Mine is described as a portion of a reddish brown stain from towel.
Right, so it was actually a piece of the towel as opposed to a swabbing of the towel.
Correct, they normally would call it a swabbing, yes.
And then with respect to 53S2, which was a I believe, another cutting of a reddish-brown stain. Is that correct?
It might be a different report.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's supplemental report number 3.
Yes. 53S2 is a reddish-brown stain from a towel. The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 53S2 originating from a single individual. The source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from item 53S2. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are also eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from 53S2.
I believe everyone was eliminated from this. Is that correct?
Double check.
Sure.
Yes, correct. Everybody's eliminated.
I'm just going to go to State Trial Exhibit 111A, and I'm going to open the folder, State Police 502I Lab Submission 53, and display the photograph Lab 53S3-1. Now, with respect to Lab Submission 53S3-1, the results are found in your supplemental report number 12, Ms. Madel. This was identified as a human hair by Ms. Velonis. And can you just indicate to the jury what type of testing you did on this and what the results were?
Sure. I attempted to obtain a nuclear DNA profile, was not able to, so I then processed mitochondrial DNA on the shaft. And I generated not a full mitochondrial DNA profile, a partial. And the mitochondrial DNA sequence obtained from item 53S3-1 and number 45, which is the known from Fotis Doulos, are the same. Therefore, Fotis Doulos, or another member of the same maternal lineage, cannot be excluded as the source of the item 53S3-01. So then I searched the database of that partial profile to see how frequent that profile is seen. In the African American population, you would expect to see it more than 0.12%. Caucasian, 0.11%, and the Hispanic, 0.12%. All other knowns were excluded as being the possible source of that mitochondrial DNA sequence.
In that same State Trial Exhibit 111A, I'm opening the folder, Lab Submission 55. And I'm going to publish paragraph 9 of the stipulation. State Police Exhibit 502J, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one red and black bent broom/mop handle with blood-like substance on the black handle, contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 55. I'd like to begin talking to you about swabbings that were taken of this particular item, specifically 55S2, which was reddish-brown deposits inside of the broken end. And I'm just going to zoom in here to the upper left-hand corner of this image. What were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 55S2 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 55S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. And all other knowns are eliminated.
And then with respect to 55S3, which was identified as a reddish-brown stain on black cap, 55S4, identified as a reddish-brown stain near broken end, and 55S5, swabbing of metal portion of handle. Were those results identical?
Yes, they were.
I'm just jumping back to State Trial Exhibit 109. For the first several of the next results, Ms. Maydell, for your benefit, DNA reports 4, 9, and 18, and I'll let you know when we jump ahead. Judge stipulated between the parties 502K was the 4 pieces of black garbage bag seized from Hartford and given lab submission number 88. And I'm just going to open the folder, lab submission 88, and the subfolder 88-1. Displaying the photograph 88-1S1. This was identified as swabbing of black duct tape, non-adhesive side. What were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-1S1 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 88-1S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. All other knowns are eliminated.
Displaying photograph lab 88.1S2. This was identified as swabbing from tangle of black tape, non-adhesive side. What were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-1S2 being a mixture of 2 contributors. Assuming 2 contributors, the DNA profile from item 88-1S2 is at least 3.9 million times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 1 unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown individuals. Foetus doulos is eliminated as a contributor to the DNA profile. Assuming 2 contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Michelle Troconis could be a contributor to the DNA profile from 88-1S2.
And can I actually ask you a follow-up question to that? That was under the original DNA kit, is that correct?
This was the Fusion 6C kit, correct?
But you used Global Filer in 2023, is that correct?
For the known, correct.
And so in 2023, the defendant, when you analyzed the profile again, she was actually eliminated as being a contributor to this particular profile. Is that correct?
Let me just double check.
Sure.
That is correct. The results do not support the hypothesis that Michelle Troconis is a contributor to this profile. Assuming 2 contributors, Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a contributor to the Fusion 6C DNA profile.
Can you just explain to the jury again how it is that she went from being inconclusive under the first kit to eliminated under the second kit?
Well, when we did our comparison, we lost those 2 testing sites with information. So she went from having a little bit more information to put her in the inconclusive range to not having that information, so it eliminated her.
And then with respect to the children on this particular swabbing? And that's in DNA sub 9.
Given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Petros, Christiane, C. Noel, or Theodore could be contributors to the profile from DNA profile from item 88-1S2. Assuming two contributors, the DNA profile from item 88-1S2 is at least 12,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from Konstantin Doulos and one unknown individual than if it originated from two unknown individuals. And Lauren and Pavel are eliminated.
Displaying Lab 88-1S3, which was identified as a reddish-brown stain exterior of non-damaged plastic bag. And this is in DNA sub 4. What were the results?
I mean, I don't know if they're getting to the end here, but I mean, I feel like the best strategy would be that finish off with whatever the strongest evidence is that she was involved, but they already did the garbage bag, so I don't know.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-1S3 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from 88-1S3 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. And all other knowns are eliminated.
And then Lab 88-1S4, I'm displaying that photograph. This was identified as reddish-brown staining interior of damaged plastic bag. What were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-1S4 being a mixture of two contributors. Assuming two contributors, the DNA profile from item 88-1S4 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and one unknown individual than if it originated from two unknown individuals. The results do not support the hypothesis that Fotis Doulos is a contributor to this profile. Assuming two contributors, Fotis Doulos is eliminated as a contributor to this profile from 88-1S4. Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a contributor to this profile.
And then with respect to the children?
Given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results of all 5 children are inconclusive, and Lauren and Pavel are eliminated.
Displaying photograph Lab 88.1S6. Lab 88-1S6 was identified as a swabbing from exterior opening of non-damaged plastic bag. And this is in DNA supplemental report number 5, 10, and 18 for your benefit, Ms. Maydell.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-1S6 being a mixture of 4 contributors, with at least one of them being male. Assuming 4 contributors, the DNA profile from item 88-1S6 is 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and 3 unknown individuals than if it originated from 4 unknown individuals. The results do not support the hypothesis that Fotis Doulos is a contributor to this profile. Assuming 4 contributors, Fotis Doulos is eliminated as a contributor to item 88-1S1. Assuming 4 contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Michelle Troconis could be a contributor to the DNA profile from item 88-1S6.
And the Doulos children, Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni, were eliminated. Is that correct?
Number 10. The results do not support the hypothesis that the 5 Doulos children are contributors. They are eliminated, and Lauren and Pavel are also eliminated.
And 88-1S7, which was identified as swabbing from exterior opening of damaged plastic bag. You did not develop a profile on that particular swabbing, correct?
Correct. No nuclear DNA profile was detected.
And with respect to just going to jump back to State Trial Exhibit 111A, Lab Submission Folder 88, Subfolder 88-1. There was a yellow and green sponge located within Submission 88-1, and there were swabbings taken of that. And I'm just going to display Lab 88.1.1S1. What were the results of the swabbing Lab 88-1-1S1? And that's in DNA Sub 4. I believe no profile was obtained, is that correct?
88-1-1S1?
That's correct.
Correct. No DNA profile was obtained.
I can't remember if I asked you this earlier, but how is it possible that a profile was not obtained?
There's just not enough DNA there to be detected in our system.
Okay. And then there was also a human hair removed from that sponge. I'm displaying a photograph entitled Lab 88.1.1S2 and directing your attention to DNA Supplemental Report number 12.
So Dizzy the Dizster just shared with me. Court TV just tweeted about this Alaska case. I feel like a bigger network might be taking control, might be covering this, so we might have something, folks. Thank you, Dizzy.
Can you just indicate to the jury what type of testing you did on this hair and what the results were?
Again, I attempted to get nuclear DNA profile from this hair and I did not. So then I tested it for mitochondrial DNA and obtained a full mitochondrial DNA profile. And in comparing the mitochondrial DNA profile from 88-1-1S2-01 and the known from 94, submission number 94, which is Pavel's known, are the same. Therefore, Pavel Gumini or another member of the same maternal lineage cannot be excluded as the source of item 88-1-1S2-01. So searching the database of that profile, I would not expect to see this profile in more than 0.12% in the African American population, 0.36% in the Caucasian, 0.12% in the Hispanic, 0.46% in the Asian, or 0.46% in the Native American populations. All other knowns were excluded as being the possible source of that mitochondrial DNA sequence.
Just jumping back to State Trial Exhibit 109. Folder 88-1. 1.2S1. There was a black plastic garbage bag that was folded and found with inside 88-1, and the swabbing 88-1-2S1 was identified as a brownish stain from the exterior. What were the results of that? And this is in 4, 9, and 18.
88-2S1 did not generate a nuclear DNA profile.
I'm sorry, 88-1-2S1.
1-2S1, sorry.
That's okay.
1-2S1.
DNA Sub 4.
Yes. The results are consistent with the DNA profile from 88-1-2S1 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 88-1-2S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual, while other knowns are eliminated.
I'm just going to go to subfolder 88.2. 88.2 was identified as one black plastic garbage bag. And there were swabbings taken of this as well. And for your benefit, Ms. Maydell, this is in 4, 9, and 18. Just beginning with 88-2S1, which was identified as a swabbing of latent print partially outlined exterior. Would it be fair to say that
It's really a great point. I know other folks have pointed this out as well, but like this DNA stuff is hard enough to like focus on with an opening where they explain where they're going with it. Now you got to just try to figure this out until we get to the closings. I mean, maybe people who are attorneys can kind of have watched this stuff before. I mean, we have. It's so hard to decipher all this evidence at once.
no profile was developed from that particular swabbing?
That is correct.
With respect to 88-2S2, which was identified as a reddish-brown stain exterior, what were the results?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-2S2 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 88-2S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual, and all other knowns are eliminated.
And 88-2S3 was identified as a brownish stain on the exterior.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-2S3 originating from a single individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 88-2S3 is at least 880,000 times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from 88-2S3.
And 88-2S4 was identified as swabbing of brownish stain exterior. That was actually identified as belonging to a member of the Scientific Services Laboratory. Is that correct?
That is correct. And if I can just say for 88-2S3, all other knowns were eliminated too.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I didn't get to that. But yes, 88-2S4 had laboratory staff contamination, so there's no comparisons for that.
And is everyone that works at the laboratory required to submit a DNA sample, or what does that look like?
Yes, we have what we call a staff index. So when all of our DNA profiles are completed in analysis, before we write a report or do any comparisons, we search all those profiles from the evidence against our staff index to make sure that no contamination occurred.
More like
And so in this particular instance, contamination was noted, so no additional comparison was done, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And with respect to 88-2S5, which was identified as a reddish-brown stain from garbage bag exterior, what were the results of that?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-2S5 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from 88-2S5 is at least 6.5 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual, and all other knowns are eliminated.
And with respect to 88-2S6, which was identified as swabbing from opening exterior.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-2S6 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 88-2S6 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile, from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush, than if it originated from an unknown individual. All other knowns are eliminated.
And displaying the photograph entitled Lab 88 2S7, identified as a swabbing of a reddish-brown stain interior. No profile was developed from this particular swabbing. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And displaying the photograph Lab 88 2S8. This was identified as reddish-brown stain interior. What were the results of this analysis?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 88-2S8 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 88-2S8 is at least 1.9 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual, and all other knowns are eliminated.
Just going to publish the stipulation, Your Honor, paragraph 11. State Police Exhibit 502S, seized from Hartford by Sergeant Kevin Duggan on May 31st, 2019, and identified as one metal scraper with a broken blade, contained within State Police Exhibit 502, seized from the scene, corner of Albany Avenue and Green Street, Hartford, Connecticut, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 40. I'm going to open up the folder for Submission 40 and display the photograph entitled Lab 40S1 and 40S2. I want to direct your attention now. This can be found in DNA reports 2, 9, and 18 for your benefit. So with respect to swabbing 40S1, which was identified as a swabbing of blade and blade holder, could you indicate to the jury what the results of your analysis were?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 40S1 being a mixture of two contributors. Assuming two contributors, the DNA profile from item 40S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush and one known individual than if it originated from two unknown individuals. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as contributors to 40S1.
And would it be fair to say that the children, Lauren Almeida and Pavel Gumieni, were eliminated as well?
That is correct, yes.
And with respect to 40S2, which was identified as swabbing of tool, what was the results of your DNA analysis?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 40S2, originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 40S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual, and all other knowns are eliminated.
Which is a stipulation. Paragraph from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 11, 2019, and identified as one cutting of upholstery fabric with blood-like stain, KN positive, seized from the scene, seatback, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 86. And I'm going to open up State Trial Exhibit 93. There's a subfolder entitled Tacoma for Court. And I'm going to display photograph 18. And Ms. Maydell, for your benefit, this can be found in DNA reports 3, 9, and 18. 86S1, which was identified as a swabbing of cutting of upholstery-like fabric. Could you indicate to the jury what the results were?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from 86S1 originating from a single female individual. Assuming one individual, the DNA profile from item 86S1 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush than if it originated from an unknown individual. And all other knowns are eliminated.
Sorry, I'm just waiting for it to buffer. 4. State Police Exhibit 208, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 11, 2019, and identified as 2 swabs seized from the scene, front plate screws, and surrounding areas, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 90. And I'm displaying photograph 1 in that same subfolder, Tacoma for court. Directing your attention to DNA supplemental report number 4, 90S1, identified as envelope with 2 swabs from front plate screws and surrounding area. Were you able to generate a DNA profile on those screws?
I did not.
If I could just have one moment, Your Honor. Stipulation, this is paragraph 1. State Police Exhibit 203, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 11, 2019, and identified as 2 swabs of blood-like stain, KM positive, seized from scene, interior side of left door, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 84. And this is found in DNA Sub 2. 84S1 was identified as 2 swabs of that blood-like stain. Were you able to generate a profile?
You said 84S1?
Yes.
No, DNA profile was generated.
It's been 84 years.
It's okay.
Okay, I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house bored. Bored in the house.
Just going to read that stipulation, paragraph 2. State Police Exhibit 206, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 11, 2019, and identified as 2 swabs of blood-like stain, KM negative, seized from the scene, interior side of right door, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 85. Were you able to generate a profile on those 2 swabbings? 85S1?
I did not. No DNA profile was detected.
Exhibit 109, the lab submission 97 folder. And read paragraph 5 of the stipulation. State Police Exhibit 323, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 26, 2019, and identified as 1 Connecticut registration plate 6617CN with 2 screws, CA/DP processed, seized from the scene front, was subsequently submitted to Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 97. And I'm displaying a photograph entitled Lab 97.1S1. Ms. Maydell, with respect to those particular swabbings, were you able to generate a profile?
Sorry, what DNA report is that?
Oh, certainly. It's DNA supplemental report number 6.
I mean, but seriously, it's been proven that, like, not everyone, like, there's different ways to learn. Not everyone learns just by listening. How are you not going to have a visual to go with this? I think it's just bad form. Just bad form. I mean, it's going to be boring and brutal anyway, but get a graphic up there for the jury to look at. I'm telling you right now, it's 12:15. All they are thinking about right now is, what are we getting for lunch?
There was 2 different items that I tested, 97.
There you go. Lauren knows what I'm talking about. This is ridiculous. Come on. Gotta have something visual. Like, this is going in one ear and out the other one for me. It's like Shannon is telling me plans for later.
1S1 and 97 2S1.
I hope she's not here right now.
And both did not generate a
Shit.
DNA profile.
And 2S1 was identified as 1 envelope with 2 screws, correct?
Mine was called swabbing from screws and washers.
Yes. I'm just displaying those screws for the jury, and you were not able to.
She is here, by the way. She heard that.
Well.
I'm
Correct.
in trouble.
I'm just going to publish the stipulation again. Paragraph 6, State Police Exhibit 324, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 26, 2019, and identified as 2 swabs seized from the scene, screw threads, in State Police Exhibit 323, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 91. With respect to Submission 91, which became 91S1, the 2 swabs that were submitted, were you able to generate a profile? And that's in DNA Sub 4.
No, 91S1, there was no DNA profile generated.
1 eternity later.
I am not a successful adult. I don't eat vegetables and or take care of myself.
Opening the folder entitled Lab Submission 98. I'm going to publish paragraph 7. State Police Exhibit 325, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 26, 2019, and identified as 1 Connecticut registration plate 6617CN with 2 screws CA/DP processed, seized from the scene rear, was subsequently submitted to Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 98.
By the way, folks, if I just want to bring this up real quick, because we're talking about watching trials and the chat and everything. If you missed, Sarah Turney came on for Women Who Rock, which, by the way, she's awesome. And tonight, or today, her Media Pressure Pod about Julie Murray is released. So make sure to check that out. She's on TikTok at 7 p.m. Check that out with Julie. But she told us that not only did my commentary made her laugh at one point when she was watching the trial with us, our sister Alyssa Turney's trial. Sarah was watching with us, and she said the chat made her feel not alone at certain points. And like, I made a clip of it. I cried while making it, but It was really something special to hear. If you haven't checked out her interview, check it out. Make sure you check out her new podcast, and you could still give it 5 stars and email me to be entered in the contest to pick any merch item from our store. Do a screenshot of 5 stars of Media Pressure Pod. Put your handle in it. Email it to me at theshamingofjay@gmail.com. And tonight I'm going to spin a wheel, and I'll record it. I'll send it out. And one winner will get to pick any shirt from our merch store. T-shirt, not hoodie. I'm not balling.
And I'm just going to direct your attention now to the swabbing of 98-1 was identified as the
Brooklyn asks, where do I leave them? I left it on Apple. That works. Anywhere that they have podcasts that you can give 5 stars, just screenshot it. Email me at theshamingofjay@gmail.com.
The license plate in 98-2 was identified as the 2 screws that came with it. With respect to 98-1S1, what were the results of your DNA analysis?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 98-1S1 originating from a single individual. The source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush, Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from 98-1S1.
Would it be fair to say that with respect to 98-1S1, all of the known profiles that you examined were eliminated?
Just want to double check.
And that's in 10 and 18
Yes.
as well.
That is correct. All the knowns are eliminated.
And then with respect to 98-2S1, which was the swabbing of the screws and washers, what was the result of that?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 98-2S1 originating from a single individual. Due to the limited data detected from 98-2S1, the comparison of the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is inconclusive. Fotis Doulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from item 98-2S1.
And with respect to the children? And that's in 10.
Sure. Due to the limited data detected from item 98-2S1, the comparison to Petros and Christiane Doulos are inconclusive. Constantine, C. Noel, Theodore, Lauren, and Pavel are all eliminated as the source of the DNA profile from 98-2S1.
Just going to publish that stipulation, paragraph 8. State Police Exhibit 326, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on June 26, 2019, and identified as 2 swabs from the scene, screw threads, in State Police Exhibit 325, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 92, and this is found in DNA Sup 4, Ms. Maydell. 92S1 was identified as the envelope with those 2 swabs. Is it fair to say you were unable to generate a profile?
That is correct.
Opening submission 99. And displaying the photograph, lab 99S5. Paragraph 9 of that stipulation, State Police Exhibit 363, seized from the Toyota Tacoma by Detective Matthew Riley on August 27, 2019, and identified as 1 interior door panel from right door, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 99. With respect to 99S5, which was identified as swabbing from edges of fabric panel and panel area, what were the results of your DNA analysis? And this is in 6 and 18 for your benefit.
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 99S5 being a mixture of 3 contributors. The results do not support the hypothesis that the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is a contributor. Assuming 3 contributors, the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is eliminated as a contributor to the DNA profile from item 99S5. The results also do not support the hypothesis that Fotis-Dulos or Michelle Troconis are contributors to this profile. Fotis-Dulos and Michelle Troconis are eliminated.
And were there any results with respect to the children?
Petros, Constantine, and Christiane, and Pavel are eliminated as contributors to the DNA profile from item 99S5. Assuming 3 contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive whether C. Noel Dulos could be a contributor to the DNA profile from item 99S5. And the results do not support the hypothesis that Lauren Almeida or Theodore Dulos are contributors to this profile. Assuming 3 contributors, Lauren Almeida and Theodore Dulos are eliminated to the DNA profile from 99S5.
And now I'm going to display lab 99S6 through 99S8. (99S6) identified as swabbing from panel handle attachment area. 99S7 swabbing from panel handle area. 99S8 swabbing from panel openings for plastic cup and edges of plastic cups. 99S9 swabbing from panel opening for speaker and edges of speaker. And this is found in DNA supplemental report number 6. You were not able to generate a profile for any of those?
That is correct.
Ms. Maydell, would you expect that with a work truck that is used fairly frequently that there would be some DNA on a door handle?
Objection, speculation, and lack of foundation.
Sustained.
With respect to 99S11, which was identified as swabbing from handle, you did not generate a profile for that either, correct?
That is correct.
And jumping to State Trial Exhibit 111A, the submission 99S14, just displaying that photograph within that folder. This was identified as a human hair by Ms. Valonis, coming from that particular submission. And I'll direct your attention to DNA Sup 12. Did you perform any analysis?
Yes, I attempted nuclear DNA and mitochondrial DNA testing on the hair root and the hair shaft and did not generate a profile for either.
And with respect to 99S15, which was identified as swabbing from fabric area, what were the results?
No profile, nuclear DNA profile was generated.
I'm going to stay within State Trial Exhibit 111A and open the Laboratory Submission 100 folder. And I'm 6418 and identified as carpeting cut from right floor, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as Submission 100. And within this folder, I'm going to pull up the photograph entitled Lab 100.1S1 and 100.1S2. Specifically, the swabbing of 100-1S1, brownish staining located on top side. Were you able to generate a profile?
No, no DNA profile was obtained.
And with respect to 101S2, which was identified as brownish staining located on top side, were you able to generate a profile?
Yes. The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 100-1S2 being a mixture of 3 contributors with at least one of them being male. The results do not support the hypothesis that the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is a contributor. Assuming 3 contributors, the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is eliminated as a contributor to the DNA profile from 101S2. The results do not support the hypothesis that Fotis Doulos or Michelle Troconis are contributors to this profile. They are eliminated.
Ms. Medell, I want you to assume the following facts are true. I want you to assume that on May 29th, 2019, the Toyota Tacoma belonging to Pavel Gumieni was detailed at a car wash. How, if at all, could a car being detailed impact potential?
I don't know if Bob is covering it, but if there is a jury question, do you guys want me to go to? From what I understand, there's a jury question, but I'm not sure if Bob is going to it. If any of the mods know, let me know.
DNA evidence found in the car.
Well, as of any wiping or cleaning that we talked about before, that can remove any DNA that may be left behind or any biological material.
And could that also potentially prevent DNA profiles from being generated on objects
All right,
tested?
I'll go to it.
Correct. We wouldn't have enough DNA to be detected, therefore would not generate a profile.
If there's one thing I've learned during this streaming journey that I've on, it's how to pivot quickly. So we could check this out now. As if you're sleeping, maybe I should play a noise so that you wake up for this jury question.
Your Honor, calling People v. Jennifer Crumbly, case number 222799990FH.
Karen McDonald on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Marquise, on behalf of the people.
Thank you. I'm Shannon Smith on behalf of Jennifer Crumbly.
Good morning. We got a question. You can be seated. We got a question from the jury that I thought was fairly easy to answer. I guess I don't know if there's an agreement about that, but if you don't agree, then we're going to decide on the record how to answer it. The question is whether the standard jury instruction 16.10 and 16.13 are different. It says a 16.10 and 16.13 two different ways that we can conclude that involuntary manslaughter, or a 16.13 a support to 16.10. So I guess I would say the answer to the first question, isn't it? Yes.
It is, Judge, and I would just ask that the court reread 20.30A, which clearly articulates that. So I think that's why it wasn't just a yes or no response. I think this instruction, 20.30A, is right on point to the question.
Okay, so can I answer the first question, yes?
Yes, Judge.
And then say, please refer to 20.30A unanimity.
Yes, Judge.
Your Honor, I'm not sure. I'm trying to find 20.30A.
It's right between 16.13 and 16.10. It's the one that talks about alternative theories.
Okay, we'll just sit there.
It's a non-standard because it's adapted from a civil jury instruction.
Could you guys not hear it? I can rewind it. I made it louder. Hold on.
16 point, I'm sorry,
20.30A, it's a non-standard jury instruction. Both sides agree to it. It's a unanimity.
I'll rewind it. Hold on. Hopefully we can hear it this time.
Your Honor, calling People versus Jennifer Crumbly, case number 222799990FH.
Karen McDonald on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Marquise, on behalf of the people.
Thank you, I'm Shannon Smith on behalf of Jennifer Crumbly.
Good morning. We got a question. You didn't see it. We got a question from the jury that I thought was really easy to answer. I guess I don't know if there's an agreement about that, but if you don't agree, then we're going to decide on the record how to answer it. The question is whether the standard jury instruction 16.10 and 16.13 are different. It says the 16.10 and 16.13 two different ways that we can conclude that involuntary manslaughter, or a 16.13 a support to 16.10. So I guess I would say the answer to the first question, isn't it? Yes.
It is, Judge, and I would just ask that the court reread 20.30A, which clearly articulates that. So I think that's why it wasn't just a yes or no response, because I think this instruction 20.30A is right on point to the question.
Okay, so can I answer the first question, yes?
Yes, Judge.
And then say, please refer to 20.30A unanimity.
Yes, Judge.
Your Honor, I'm not sure. I'm trying to find 20.30A.
It's right between 16.13 and 16.10. It's the one that talks about alternative theories.
Okay, we'll just sit there.
It's a non-standard because it's a deputy from a civil jury instruction.
I'm sorry,
20.30A, it's a non-standard jury instruction. Both sides agree to it. It's a unanimity instruction.
Okay, I believe the court is correct. However, the way I read the question is that the jury is confused, obviously, about there being two ways to prove the charge. When they ask about one instruction supporting another, I believe that they should reread 20.30A, and then the one theory of the prosecution is 16.13, which describes the legal duty. I believe the second theory by the prosecution is 16.10, which describes the theory. Okay, but I think what supports 16.10 is the definition in 16.18. So when this jury is asking for a question about support, I believe the confusion lies in the fact that
they didn't ask me that.
Well, when they say, I don't see how 20.3A clears up the question they're asking. I believe the jury needs to be instructed to read 20.3A, and then they need to consider 16.13 or 16.10, and in doing 16.10, understand the definition of gross negligence is in 16.18. That's what the defense believes.
They didn't ask that, Judge, and it's not up to us to guess what they're thinking or not. The answer to the question, the first question is clearly yes, and 20.30A is clearly on point. So,
yeah, the answer is yes, and then I'm going to say, please refer to 20.30A. Unanimity. And I'm also going to say, please consider all instructions as a whole.
Thank you, Judge.
send this note in. Right?
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All right.
I talked about this on Bob's stream when I was on Friday, but it is wild to me that the school has no responsibility. I mean, obviously you can't criminally charge a school, but apparently they tried civilly and the case was dismissed. I mean, I would wager this didn't happen in 1999, folks. This happened a few years ago, and I would put my money on it that probably either that morning, the day before, or at least within a week of this incident happening, there was a different school shooting that happened. And you're telling me a kid hands in their test with what was on that test and the school isn't like, get the hell out of here? Let me see your backpack. How can the school have no responsibility? It drives me wild. Like if you look up the date of that school shooting, I bet you there was one that day or the week before, within a week. We have to have our kids hide under desks and like what they're going to do if there's a school shooting. But this school gets that test, and they're not like, hey, this is a problem, get the hell out of here, or get the police here, or do something. I mean, come on. All right. Nonetheless, we're back to borophyll DNA.
I need to finish the conclusions for 101S2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to put this on speed. I'm jacking up the speed, folks.
Assuming 3 contributors for the DNA profile from item 101S2 is at least 100 billion times more likely to occur if it originated from Pavel Gumeni and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals. The Dulos children and Lauren Almeida are eliminated.
Judge, I have what has been identified as State Exhibit 122. It's a stipulation between the parties. I would just move it into evidence formally with the court.
Do you wish to publish it?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
122?
Yes, sir.
States 122 admitted as full.
This is a stipulation regarding evidence seized from Fotis Dulos' 2015 Chevrolet Suburban and submitted to the Division of Scientific Services. Paragraph 1, State Police Exhibit 144, seized from Fotis Dulos' 2015 Chevrolet Suburban by Detective Matthew Riley on May 31st, 2019, and identified as 1 swab of a blood-like stain, KM positive, seized from the scene from State Police Exhibit 123, left side of WeatherTech floor liner rear cargo area, was subsequently submitted to the Division of Scientific Services and designated as submission 42. This can be found in your very first DNA report. Could you just indicate what the results were?
The results are consistent with the DNA profile from item 42S1 being a mixture of 3 contributors with at least one of them being male. The results do not support the hypothesis that the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is a contributor. Assuming 3 contributors, the source of the DNA profile from the swabbing of the electric toothbrush is eliminated.
And I believe it's also
By the way, just quickly, and I am in no way saying I don't think that Jennifer should probably be held responsible too, just by the fact that they bought the kid a gun, and then they see that paper with the gun and they just don't do anything about it.
9.
Yes, and 18 as well, and perhaps also SUP 1.
Whoops, forgot to speed it up again. Oh no, it is sped up. Let's go 1.5.
Assuming 3 contributors, the DNA profile from item 42S1 is at least 41 million times more likely to occur if it originated from Fotis Dulos and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown individuals. Michelle Troconis is eliminated as a contributor to 42S1. Assuming 3 contributors, given the low likelihood ratios calculated, the results are inconclusive as to whether Petros, Constantine, Christiane, C. Noel, or Theodore could be a contributor to the DNA profile from 42S1. Lauren and Pavel are eliminated as contributors.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm just going to return exhibits 122, 103, and 104 to the clerk.
Oh man, now this guy. Oh boy.
Sunny, since the last time you were here.
Yes.
You went through a lot of stuff today, and I'm not going to ask you about any of it, but I wanted to ask you specifically about the exterior of the black garbage bags that we talked about a lot, 88 dash, and then we have 1, 2, 3, et cetera. You know which ones I'm talking about? If you want to pull out that.
Yes. You know which report it was? Or can I find it?
I do, but I would have to go.
I think, are you referring to 883S7?
Yes.
So supplemental DNA report 5.
Okay, so let me actually back up a step. So when you received this item, these were 2 garbage bags, 88 that had been separated. Is that correct? 88-1 and 88-3 were 2 garbage bags that originally had been sort of connected together.
I never saw the garbage bags, so the FP people examine all those garbage bags and they do the swabbings for DNA, and they put those swabbings or cuttings into a little tube and put them into a secure location for storage until I'm ready to go do my DNA testing. So I don't actually see those parent items.
Certain images were put up on the screen during your testimony, correct, today?
Sure, but I didn't turn around and look at them.
All right, so fair to say that you didn't see any of the items that Mr. McGinnis was displaying on the screen while you were doing your testing. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
As I understand it, the swab of 88-3S7, and I sort of was from the edge, so shall we say the exterior edge of the garbage bag, correct?
My description is the swabbing of bag opening and separate bag portion.
Okay, but when we're talking about the opening, you're talking about the place where you would open a garbage bag to put stuff in, correct?
I would say that's correct from the description.
And the image that was displayed at the time was written, it said exterior. Would that be fair to say that the swab was from the exterior of that opening of the bag?
I can't say that because I didn't take the swabbing and that's not in my description.
In any event, you used at the time the Fusion 6C program in order, or the kit in order to obtain a DNA profile or profiles from that swab, correct?
That is correct, yes.
In order to do that, you actually you determine from the swab after you put it into a tube, right? You make it into a liquid, correct?
Yes, create a DNA extract.
And you actually from that are able from the Fusion 6C kit to determine the weight, or shall we say quantity of that sample, correct?
No, it's actually before that step. The Fusion 6C step is when we're actually making the copies of the DNA. That second step, called quantification, is when we determine how much DNA we think we have, and then we use that Fusion 6C kit to make more copies of it.
Okay, so as I think you explained, when you talk about making copies, it's almost like you're taking a tiny actual sample and you're making like photocopies of it, only it's not really photocopies. It just multiplies the DNA into a larger quantity. Is that correct?
Yes, hoping we can detect DNA profile.
But when we're talking about a quantity, it comes in nanograms and picograms, correct?
That is correct. When we do the quantification, it tells us how many nanograms or picograms we have of that sample from that DNA extract from the swab.
And that is indicated in a Fusion 6C PowerPlex chart that comes out, correct?
I'm not necessarily the nanograms or the picograms. That's in the quantifier report. The electropharogram that's at the end is represented by a series of peaks.
It's my understanding that ideally, at least in 2019, the quantity of sample that you would prefer to be able to do a profile would be at least half a nanogram, 0.500 picograms, correct?
0.500 is 500 picograms or half a nanogram, and that was our target. That's what we target. If we have enough DNA, that's the amount that we want, that we're pretty sure we would get a full DNA profile, yes.
But if you had less than that, you would still try to produce a profile, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Your lab, even in 2019, was sophisticated enough so that it could at least obtain a partial profile down to, I forget the number, but quite a lot less than the 500 picograms, correct?
Yes, that is correct. We can get a partial profile from a lot less.
Right. So, these are from the lab, essentially, before your injection. So I gave you this one. I don't have injections for this. I haven't seen it, but also the exhibit. All right, I'm going to show you. I guess I could have. If we could get the monitor turned on, please. All right, so you recognize this as an amplification worksheet?
Yes, that is correct.
And if we look at the number 1, there's more than one of the samples that you talked about today, correct?
Correct. There's 3 different swabbings listed there with the controls.
Oh, when you.
Sorry, there's 3 separate.
Let me do this. There is a separate microphone. If I can at least maybe.
Yes, along with 883S7, there was 2 other swabbings amplified at the same time with their controls.
And so that we're talking about the same thing. This is the 3S7 one I just asked you about.
When I said visuals, I did not mean this shit. This makes me even more confused. The fuck am I looking at?
Correct?
That is correct, yes.
And if we go across, the NG stands for nanograms, correct, of DNA, right?
Correct, yes.
And the amount that's listed just below that is 0.42, correct?
Correct. So that's 420 picograms or 0.42 nanograms.
That was the total sample that was in the, that was the total quantity in the sample that you tested, correct?
Approximately the amount of, yes, DNA that I was amplifying.
And even though that was slightly less than the 500, well, let's do a little math and I'll do that a little bit later, but there are 1,000 picograms in 1 nanogram, right?
Yes.
And to remind us from the last.
This is the visual I need. A picture of the evidence, a picture of the defendant, and a thumbs up or a thumbs down if they were involved, and maybe like however many in a billion that they were involved. Make it simple for me. I'm Dub.
Last time I asked you this, a picogram is a trillionth of a gram, right?
Correct, yes.
So this would be 420 trillionths of a gram of DNA that you used, right?
Well, 1 picogram is a trillionth.
Or is it? Yeah. Because these are nanograms. Well, I guess.
But it's 420 picograms, so it wouldn't be 400 trillion.
Oh, it's 420 picograms. I'm so glad they cleared that up.
Well, it's
a lot less than a gram.
Yes, right. But it's also a lot less than a nanogram, right? It's less than half of a nanogram.
Yes, because a half a nanogram would be 0.5.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So,
this is what I should say. I should play this every time. Every time.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered.
You were able to, by using this profile, you were able to run a star mix deconvolution program report on this sample, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to then show you a page from the, well, before I even show you the next thing, the deconvolution report will take the sample and it will run the program and create probabilities based on the input that you put in, correct?
I give it the DNA profile that is generated, and then it generates a likelihood ratio when you make a comparison, correct?
In this particular case, you called it electrophoresis. That's the program that you run to look at peaks and valleys to determine how many contributors you believe are involved in a particular sample, correct?
Well, the electrophoresis is actually separating those DNA types, and then I look at the profile to determine how many contributors I believe it is.
Okay, and in this particular sample, according to your testimony, you believe there were 4 different people, 4 different DNA sources for this particular sample, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And the one below it, I'll just note, was even smaller a sample, right? The 0.33 was from 881S6, correct?
Yes, that was the highest we could get to, yes.
And that's the one where you said that any comparison to the DNA profile of my client was inconclusive, correct?
I'd have to refresh my recollection.
Sure. Would you like to do that?
Sure.
With what? That's 1S6.
1S6. Yes, in supplemental DNA report 5, the likelihood ratios calculator make it inconclusive.
And inconclusive mean there wasn't enough sample for you to make any either exclusion or to even make it be a partial inclusion, correct?
Not necessarily enough sample, but when we generated our likelihood ratio, it fell above our elimination, but fell below what we deem a positive association, so we say it's inconclusive. We can't.
So you make no opinion about it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And incidentally, the lab switched from this Fusion 6C to Global Filer in what year?
At the end of 2019, beginning of 2020.
So at that point, the lab decided to use Global Filer because it was what, more sophisticated, that program?
No, it was because we were switching vendors and the machines at the same time, so they just switched vendors.
But in any event, you explained why they test for less loci on a DNA strand, but the outcome showed a lower probability likelihood ratio after you reran Michelle Troconis' DNA in 2023, correct?
That is correct because it had 2 less sites for the comparison.
Right, it went down to 250,000 to 1 as a likelihood, correct?
That was a likelihood ratio, yes.
Assuming 4 contributors and 3 unknowns, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to pull up a page from the deconvolution report. And before I do that, the deconvolution report also estimates the percentages of the 4 contributors to a mixture, correct?
Yes.
So I'm going to put up, I think it's marked as deconvolution. All right, could you zoom in on the bottom part, please? Well, let's start at the top here. This is from your 2019 SDR mix report, correct?
Yes.
And this is their logo showing an untangling of a bunch of string up in the corner, correct?
Sure, yes.
All right. And again, so that the jury will understand what we're looking at here, this shows that the file was 88-3S7, correct?
Yes.
That's the same number throughout. If anything that you testified about regarding this sample, it'll show 88-3S7, correct?
Correct.
And then and below that, it talks about the known contributor, and it's got the number 45-2G1. And for the juror's edification, you've already explained this, 45 is the sample that was assigned to the known profile of Michelle Troconis, right?
I believe 45 was Fotis Doulos. 47 was Troconis? Let me just make sure. Yes, 45 is Fotis Doulos, and 47 is Michelle Troconis.
Right. So this report you ran against Fotis Doulos as a known contributor, correct?
Yes.
And if you go down to the bottom, All right. So when you ran this amount, it showed that 50% of the sample, right, according to Star Mix, was photos doulosis, correct?
Well, yes, it approximates how much each contributor is contributing to that profile before you make a comparison. It deconvolutes the whole profile and gives you the weights for those 4 people that I told it was. And then when you do the comparison with the known, it then tries to see by its already deconvoluted parts if the known matches to any of what the best explanations are.
Well, what I want you to do is when you look at the proportions of 1, 2, 3, and 4, when you ran it against unknowns, correct?
Well, you only run it against the one known at a time.
Okay, well, that's what I was trying to get at. And in this particular case, the third, shall we say, the third highest contribution, or the third lowest, if you will, was 5%, correct?
The third contributor is contributing approximately 5% of the DNA profile, correct?
5% of 100%, correct?
Correct.
And then the fourth person was 3%, right?
Approximately, yes.
Okay, so if we would go to the LR47 report, right? So this is a report that was written, well, that was part of a deconvolution report and likelihood ratio from August of 2019, correct?
Correct.
And this is a report you ran using Star Mix, correct? SDR Mix.
Correct.
And in this particular sample, you used 47 as the known contributor, correct?
Correct.
And again, you only run one at a time, as you said, correct?
Correct.
So if you would just go down to the lower part of this, okay? And so in this, it shows the location within the 4 profiles, separate DNA profiles, for the known sample of Michelle Troconis, correct?
Yes, it fits her to contributor number 3.
Right. And in that case, that would be a 5% of the total. Is that right?
Approximately, yes.
And then you reran this, as I think you indicated, in 2023. So if you would pull up 147, 2023, please. Okay, so up at the top, you ran this again in November of 2023, right?
Correct, after I redid the known with Global Filer.
Right. So let me also just indicate, you were given a more recent DNA sample of my client, correct?
Correct.
Now, her DNA didn't change in the 4 years since it was originally provided, did it?
No, of course not.
Okay. So when you go down to the bottom, it still came out third, correct, in 2023, correct?
Correct, yes.
And as I understand this, the first time you ran it using the Fusion 6C, it was in 2019. It was, the results were cannot be eliminated, correct? That's what you called it, right?
Yes, because that was the terminology we were using at the time.
And then now you use the terminology consistent with source, correct?
Consistent with a contributor for a mixture.
All right. But in any event, it was still only a partial DNA that you were comparing my client's known DNA against, correct? A partial profile, right?
Correct. Her full profile wasn't detected in this 4-person mixture.
Right. So if we do this, the math, if you started with 420 picograms, right? If you go back to the deconvolution report, that one, and then zoom in at the percentages here.
You said 420. Everyone smoke your
joint. If we
joint.
assume there was a total of 420 picograms, right? That means 50% of the sample belonged, in this case, to Mr. Doulos, correct?
Approximately.
There is no chance the jury's listening to this right now. They're like, get me my fucking lunch now.
Yes.
And when you swiped, excuse me, you didn't actually do the swiping for the sample in this case, correct?
You mean the swabbing of the bag?
The swabbing.
Swipe or no swiping?
Right. Someone else ran it somewhere along the exterior edge of that bag, correct?
From the description, it was the opening of the bag, yes.
Okay. And if I look at them, I'm not going to do the 42% is the next one, but if we go down to 5%, so 10% of 420 picograms would be 42 picograms, correct?
Correct.
And 5% of 420 picograms would be 21 picograms, correct?
Correct.
The last time we were here, I believe you estimated that approximately one human skin cell has a little more than 6 picograms, correct?
Correct, I agree with that.
So maybe 6.5, does that sound about right?
Yeah, somewhere around 6.
So if I'm to do the math correctly, there were 3 human skin cells that may have contributed to this that could not be eliminated from Ms. Troconis' profile, correct?
Approximately, that's, yes, a fair statement.
3 skin cells, right?
Approximately.
Right, so that would be 21 trillionths of a gram of DNA, right?
Well, Judge, I'm just going to object at this point. I don't think it's relevant because there's no indication that this DNA actually came from skin cells. So to make the leap that this is actually skin cell DNA, I think is a bridge too far at this point.
Well, according to the testimony of the witness, that 6.5, 21 divided by 6.5 is approximately 3. So there's redirect examination for clarification, but the objection is overruled.
That's correct, right?
Well, yes, I could say that approximately 3 skin cells would make 21 picograms in the sample. But again, it is true that I can't say that the DNA on this bag came from skin cells. It could have been another form of DNA.
Right, but all cells that you use are basically, on human cells, are the same size, correct?
Correct.
So it doesn't even matter if she sneezed, it's still only 3 cells, right?
Approximately, yes.
But when this was tested, it came to you as touch DNA, didn't it?
That's how the forensic biology described it in their paperwork.
And you,
I don't have that in front of me.
right, but if that's how they describe it, you don't change it when you get it, right? Unless you test for some kind of different substance, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I just tested.
Well, Attorney Shannon, it's about 2 minutes before 1.
Yep.
Since an exhibit may be displayed, perhaps we could do that after the luncheon recess.
That'll be fine, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we stand in our luncheon recess. We resume at 2 o'clock. Please do not discuss the case.
All right, so they are on lunch. Now, I am seeing people on Twitter pontificating. Look at that word. Look at me go. That they think, or at least Lizbeth says, I have a feeling a verdict is just around the corner based on the question, just my opinion. I'm not coming back for this Borophyll in the afternoon. I'll tell you right now, I can't deal with this guy. But if Bob isn't back, Bob will be covering the verdict. Is this the verdict? It actually is going to be. If there's a verdict and Bob's not back yet, I will go live. If Bob is back, make sure you're subscribed to Defense Diaries. He will cover it. So, and then tomorrow, folks, it looks like we may have a new trial. This case in Alaska. I'm going to try to make a video about it. It's a wild case in Alaska. So if it comes back and Bob's not back, I'll go live. If not, check out Defense Diaries. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support. You guys are amazing. If Bob's not back, if Bob is back, he'll get the verdict for Crumbly. If not, I'll get it, and I'll shoot you guys over to him when he does his analysis. So hopefully, and we might have a new trial tomorrow. So love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, mods, as always.